Great. Sounds good.
Awesome. Hitting the button. Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdicus Dave, and today I'm joined by the Dueling Doll. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good, all things considered.
I kind of found you over on TikTok, and I really love your content over there. But I must admit, the thing that I was most fascinated with when I saw that in your in the profile that you're a fight choreographer. So I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." Like I talk about D&D and gaming all the time, but when I get someone who does something like that they do D&D, but then they also do something else that's kind of interesting, I get like super excited.
I get that. I do too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I started doing stage combat in 2002. Yeah, that's right. Uh, I went to school in Chicago at Columbia College, which has a great stage combat program with one of the best teachers in the country, David Woolley. And so that's where I started. And about 2015 was when I started teaching. Um, I just realized that I had been doing other things. You know, life gets in the way, and you have to sometimes take a step back from theater because theater doesn't always pay the bills. But in 2015, I came back to it and I started teaching stage combat. And so before COVID, that's what I did all the time is I taught stage combat and I did fight choreography for theater in Albuquerque, New Mexico, predominantly. And I also taught, I work with the Society of American Fight Directors. So I've taught at a bunch of the regional workshops through them. And oh, man, I miss it. But also, it's nice not being responsible for other people's safety, you know? When you're doing fight choreography, it's like you are 100% responsible for if someone gets hurt.
If someone else smacks someone else in the head, it's your fault. Nice.
Yes, yes. If
You know,
someone smacks themselves in the head, it's your fault.
that's just like having kids though. Like it sounds like parenting to me, really.
I see. I don't have kids. I just have my fight kids.
Yeah, yeah. So, real quick before we go any further, just let folks know there is a link to your TikTok down in the description below. Is there anywhere else people should look for you?
Um, Not really. I am terrible at social media stuff. That's kind of why I started doing TikTok. It was
Yeah,
like, well, maybe I can do this one. Maybe I'll have fun doing this one, and so I'll actually like
do it.
do it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally get that. It's a mood. There's nothing to apologize for, but people can go over to TikTok and enjoy your content. Also, I feel morally obligated to mention we do have a Kickstarter going on that just funded today. So if you want magic
Nice.
items for your D&D game, go check that out. All those links will be in the description. So, at what point did you know you wanted to either be on stage or show other people how to be on stage, smacking other people with swords?
Well, be on stage like literally
Yeah,
always.
yeah.
So when I was in preschool, um, we had name tags for our preschool,
Mhm.
and then we had like temporary ones for like the new kids. I always use a temporary one because I would come to preschool in character of the day. Like I would be like Shira, or I would be Cinderella, or I'd be Maleficent, and I would literally go by that all day. So my parents were like, either she's crazy or she's an actor.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe a little bit of both, but but teaching, I mean, it kind of started at Columbia College because when I was there, I was an assistant to the two teachers that were there at the time, David Woolley and Johnny Mack. And I liked it. I was good at it. And during that time where I had to step away from theater, I worked for Clinique as a makeup artist for a few years. And in that time, I was training new consultants and realized that I was really good at teaching and really enjoyed it. So when I was going back to theater, and it just made sense. And plus, in New Mexico, in Albuquerque, we have this actually really great theater scene because of the film industry. It's really brought in a lot of people. And I would notice that every time I'd go see a show, it's like everything's great. Everything is so good. And then a fight would happen, and one of two things would happen. Either it was really boring, and it was just like, oh God, okay, just get through the fight. Or I was like, holy shit, they're going to kill each other. And I was like, we deserve better. Like, they just don't have the training, they don't have the experience to know that and I felt like we deserved better because everything else was so good. So that was one of the things that really influenced me to start teaching, was to better my community.
And so what was your background that kind of prepared you for that?
For teaching.
For, well, not teaching, for fight choreography,
For
because I mean it's very specific.
It is. I mean, just the fact that I have always loved, like, I was obsessed with the Ninja Turtles when I was a kid. I was obsessed with She-Ra. I was always obsessed with that kind of stuff. So that was one of the things why I went to Columbia College. I originally went to DePaul in Chicago, and I transferred. And the reason was so that I could learn stage combat. So, you know, they didn't have a minor when I was there, but they do now. They were the first school to have a minor in stage combat. And I'm like, hey, Columbia College, where's my minor, like, retroactively? Because I did all the work.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the level of stage combat training you get somewhere like that. And then, like, my first job out of college, I played Maid Marian at the Bristol Renaissance Fair, which is a fight role there. So yeah, I've been doing it for so long, and I love it. And yeah, you just start playing with uh, the choreography. And I also study kung fu, because that helps you to understand how a how your body works. B, kung fu is very stylish, so it's good for stage combat,
Yeah.
and also how a real fight works. Um, and I'm constantly training, like, even as I'm teaching, like, basically, again, in the before times, I was going to like, at minimum 4 workshops a year, and at maximum like 8. And like, half of those I was teaching, and half of those I was going as a student, because there's always something new to learn. There's always people that are better at different things. And then, like, one of the people that I really love working with as a more advanced actor combatant and as a teacher is a teacher named Patrick Kelly, because he comes from predominantly from a martial arts background and a stunts background. So when he's teaching you about the reality of a fight, and then how to translate it into something safe.
The Now, I've actually had a a couple of fight choreographers on here before. So I'm always curious, and usually they like have a martial arts background, and I
Yeah.
think like it usually feels like they've been fighting all their life, and now they're like, how can I make this a job?
And I'm the exact opposite. I was like, I am an actor and I love swords, so how can I incorporate the two together?
So which style of kung fu do you train in?
I do Shaolin style kung fu, predominantly like the animal forms.
Okay.
The first place I studied in Chicago was really focused on the animal forms, and sort of finding which animal your spirit animal, basically, which for me is definitely crane. I am very much a crane fighter. I like kicks. I have long limbs. If you can get in close to me, then I might be in trouble, but good luck getting close to me.
My a buddy of mine teaches Wing Chun and China, and Tai Chi, and has studied animals as well. Wing
I
Chun's not
love
such a
Tai
great
Chi.
not a great stage martial art.
No, but it is really good for film because it's so tight and it can be so fast. It's used a
Mm.
lot in film
I
because
was
of
thinking
that.
it would be less good for film because of it's so tight, like it's so close in.
But that's why, because, like, you can get in
Yeah,
really close. Like,
close
if you think of,
shots.
like, Yeah, like there's the fight between Neo and Ghost in the second Matrix movie,
Yeah.
which is very Wing Chun based because it's just tight, fast, get in there,
Yeah, a lot
and
of times it does look like in those movies they're playing hands. So
yes, yes, it does. We, I have a teacher, a different teacher who teaches a class where he's doing that fight, and it's like, okay, you learn this fight and you have to do it as fast as you can. And if you have any martial arts background, you have to leave logic out the door because that fight has no actual logic. It just looks flashy.
yeah. So Brian wants to know most underrated fight choreography in a movie, like bad movie but good fights.
Ooh, bad movie, but good fights. Ooh, Equilibrium. Equilibrium with Christian Bale and Taye Diggs. It is. It never made it to theaters. It was straight to video. Very stylish movie and what we call gun fu. Like it's all like kung fu but with guns.
Yeah,
And it's
like John Wick, like a lot of John Wick
yes,
movies.
before John Wick. It was
Yeah.
earlier than John Wick. It was like we might not have John Wick without Equilibrium. It's a fun movie. It's got some really big plot holes. It's like, wait, this could have actually worked really well if you just did this instead of okay, whatever. The fights are gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah. You know, we take it where we can get it, I guess.
Yeah.
Cups as being a smart ass, Claw is a superior kung fu. Evil Claw.
Eagle Claw is always the villain, so I
Yeah,
would win because the villain doesn't win the final fight.
yeah, for sure. So how did you get started with TikTok?
I mean, literally just maybe I can do this for social media. So because I haven't been able to do stage combat, I have been in the last year uh, getting into voice acting because it's something that you don't have to be in the same room with other people to do. And I can do it from home.
Soundproof a closet and
And
you're good to go, right? Is like the
exactly,
voice acting.
exactly. And it's something that like I've looked into before, but it's like if I'm going to do this, this has to be my main focus, and my main focus right now is fights. So this day and age, if you are a performer and you want to get an agent, you need to have a social media presence. And I'm like, I have tried Instagram and I hate it. And I have tried Facebook and it's fine, but not for like getting followers or whatever. And I'm like, well, if I do TikTok, I can just like talk about D&D and like fights and maybe like some horror movies. And like, I really did. I was like, I want to like cosplay my favorite character and just do silly shit with that. And if I maybe that'll go well. And I literally just started. I doubt you realize that. My first video went up 2 weeks before Christmas.
I kind of thought maybe when just today actually before we
Mhm.
started because I was going back and scrolling through your TikTok account. And I was like, oh, this seems pretty new. Honestly, like, and I had someone else on. They'd only been doing it a couple of months. They're doing pretty good for actually. Verly, Verly, am I
Yeah.
saying that right?
I think so. I love her.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're TikTok friends, however that works.
whatever that means. Yeah.
She does some great stuff. Her stuff is
uh,
fun.
yeah, I had seen that you had done some stitching there, and but like for me, it's like I like TikTok because it's kind of a new medium for social media, and it's it's kind of new and innovative in the D&D space, and I like to see what people are doing there. And I don't really care about the follower count. I just like, oh, does this person come up on my for you page, and do I watch the whole video or not?
Right?
And if I watch several videos, the whole thing, then I might like look at their profile, and then I saw yours. I'm like, oh, you're also a fight choreographer. That's pretty cool, and a voice actor and the D&D. So I was like, that would be cool to have that person on and talk about stuff. So
Yeah, and I mean, I think I'm doing pretty good. I've been on for like a month and I have over 1,000 followers, so I was really impressed with that. Some members of the Chaos Conclave got behind me and were really hyping me up, so is awesome. It's a really supportive community within TikTok for the D&D community. Um,
They're like a whole
yeah,
movement over there trying to take things
they
over.
are. Yeah, they really are. I'm just scratching the surface, of that, but
Yeah,
they've been great.
that for sure. So were you already on TikTok as a consumer, or did you come on as a creator?
Um, Sort of both. I came on as a consumer with the intent to uh, create, but I didn't start creating for a few months. Like I signed up for TikTok. I signed up for TikTok in like September and was like, I was resistant. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's like whatever. But my best friend was like sending me all these TikToks
Yeah,
and
me and my daughter communicate that way.
oh yeah, right? Totally, right? It's like I do not use spoons as a term because it makes no sense to me. I say spell slots because that makes sense. I do not have spell slots to write you a message, but you'll like this. So I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
send this to you.
Here's a dog
um,
doing something stupid.
yeah, yeah. It made me happy. I think it'll make you happy too. So but yeah, when I got on, I was kind of mad at myself for not doing it earlier in the pandemic because A, pandemic,
Yeah.
and B, I had to have elbow surgery and I was recovering from that through the like last year, and I was like, well, this would have been great to keep myself entertained while I'm sitting in bed going, ow.
Well, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
So
Now I
when it
know.
comes to D&D, are you usually a player or a GM?
I do both. I prefer being a player. I have a rule about DMing. My rule about DMing is I will only DM a game if I am actively a player in another game. Um, and that's not a problem right now because again, through the D&D has kept me sane through the pandemic. I have been playing, especially early on when I was like, yeah, I can't do anything. Like
Yeah.
everything I do is out the window. Um, so I found a couple of groups online that I love playing with. Some of my favorite people I've ever played with, I've found in these groups. I don't even know what they look like because we don't play with a camera. Um,
They're just
so
disembodied voices.
they are just picture their characters. So depending on the campaign, what we're playing, that's what I picture. Um, and so like at one point in the pandemic, I was playing in 6 campaigns at the same time, and I'm still like right now in one, two. I'm still in like 5. One's only a monthly, but yeah, that's my rule. Like I will not DM if I'm not actively. This is how I protect myself from becoming the forever DM. I'm like, no, 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 I will not do that. No.
I never thought about putting up those defenses, but I feel like most people that become the forever DM, it's because it's like they've got like one group of friends that play. Like now, it's a lot easier. But when I was
Yeah,
coming up, you had like one group of friends that you're going to play D&D with, and if you didn't DM, nobody was going to do it.
that is very true. That's I've only been DMing for the past 3 years. 3 years, yeah. Um, because very much the case. Because I've been playing 5e for since 2016. Yeah, yeah. Um, and like, but it's not my first tabletop game, and I tried to get into playing second edition
Yeah.
when I was younger, and a friend of mine. His family played, and I came over one day and they had this huge map set up because they were in the middle of a giant dungeon. And I was like, well, what's this? And he's telling me all about it. I'm like, that sounds cool. And then he started teaching me how to play. And then there was Thaco. And I was
Yeah.
like, no, this is terrible math. I hate this.
It's so weird. Like when I go back and I look at like the old rules, and it's not that there was more rules than there are now. It's just they were overly complex for complexity's sake.
Yeah, I'm just like, who thought of this? Why? This is so complicated for
Yeah.
no reason. What?
And then
So I
like
played. Oh, go ahead.
I was just like third edition, they just flipped it right so that it made sense that everything went up instead of
Hmm.
like this weird up and down. And
Yeah, that made things a bit easier. Uh, but I still wasn't able. I didn't. Third edition came out when I was like in college, so it was
yeah,
like a. I didn't really have time to really dedicate to getting into that type of thing, and B, no one was playing it, so it was like okay.
yeah.
Um, but after the Thaco debacle, I just went firmly into Vampire the Masquerade,
I knew
which
you
was
were gonna
very
say
simple.
that.
It's simple. I am an old school goth girl. Of
Yeah,
course, I wanted to be a vampire, but I've only ever played first edition. Like, I don't know what's going on with that game now.
yeah. I mean, I think it's all the way up to like version. It's up to their fifth edition just came out. Well, I say
Yeah,
just came out, but that means like 2 years ago, I think.
but I think yeah, fifth sounds right for where
Yeah,
they're at. And to me, it just came out too because again, I've only ever played first edition. All these newfangled versions, I don't know.
yeah. So our group just we dipped our baby pinky toes into the world of darkness, and that was about it. Because like we were just too much of D&D players in the sense that like we looked at World of Darkness, and I think most of us had the same idea, and that was like, oh, they got all this cool stuff, but you can't mix it together, or you're not supposed to mix it together. Why would you not mix it together?
Right. And I think now it's all about mixing it together. I think,
I
but I
don't know
don't
if they've
know.
done that or not. I don't think so because I think they're separate. Like they're like Werewolf went to another company, Vampire's a different company.
Did they? Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
think so, but maybe not. Or it could have did that and then go
Oh, I'm
back.
sorry. Puppy. Oh, my dog is now barking at something. Sorry about that.
No worries. I have a dog and also likes to bark at something. Right.
And it could be that the guy working on the heater is back with parts and he's like,
Uh,
"Oh, there's a person."
yeah, that happens. Well, I just realized the other day we use this app called 360 to like track our family,
Okay.
and the dog knows the notification.
I know it.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
I realized it the other day. I was like, wait a minute, she knows the notification?
It's like, what does she do? Oh, that's what she's doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
She can be smart sometimes, but she also eats rocks and poop, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, my dog is the sweetest. So incredibly sweet. He is dumb. So dumb. My last dog was so smart. Smart to it was a problem how smart he was. And this one, whoo, no, 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 no. We were considering naming him Giles.
Yeah.
And we're sitting in the backyard one day and just watching this dog, this puppy, and we both at the same time go, "Oh, he's not smart enough to be a Giles."
Oh
No.
no.
Nope, nope. Bless his
What
heart.
name did you land on?
Xander. It was between Giles and Xander, and he didn't have the brains, but he definitely had the heart, so he's
Yeah.
Xander.
Yeah. I don't know. Our dog is like she's weird. She likes critters. Like the neighbors have chickens that wander in our yard and she wants to play with them and she loves the one cat, terrified of the other two cats. Hates dogs. Just
Oh
absolutely
no.
hates them. Wants to go to
Yeah,
war.
my dog loves dogs, loves people, but he is. I've never had a hunting dog before. He is a
Yeah.
hunting dog. He is a hunter. I have
Uh,
watched this dog snatch a bird out of the sky. I'm just like,
wow.
oh my God.
Hey, he might not be smart, but he's got life skills.
He has life skills, low intelligence, high wisdom.
Yeah, yeah. Is that an animal handling check? I don't know. Or a survival check.
That's a good question. I feel like if you kill the animal in your animal handling check, you have failed. So I'm gonna go
Mm,
with survival.
survival. one character's survival is another character's animal handling, or vice versa. I've had a cat that did that. Like it was laying in the driveway, like sunning itself, and one of those cat birds just kept coming down and pecking at it. It did it
Oh,
once,
wow.
twice, third time cat leaped up, took it to the ground. No more.
It's like, I am done with you, bird. We ain't doing this.
Yeah, we're not doing this no more. So Brian wants to know any ideas for kung fu flavor for villains, wandering monk masters in a D&D campaign.
Well, Brian, you already said it. Eagle style. Eagle
Yeah,
style is the style of
of the
the
villain.
villain.
I mean, in the
Always.
one Kung Fu Panda movie, it was definitely Crane.
That was a huge departure. And
Yeah,
that's why we didn't suspect, you know what I mean? I
yeah,
mean, that it is, there is a huge trope within Kung Fu that Eagle is the evil because it's like so brutal, you know,
uh,
you're gripping and clawing and tearing. Um, so yeah, Brian, you answer your own question. Just
yeah.
Eagle style, 100% all the way.
My dad, most of his life trained in martial arts, and he had trained in different kung fu styles. And he was a jeweler, so he was always afraid of hurting his hands.
Mm-hmm.
So he did like all the like iron palm and hand training in order to try and make it so his finger,
Oh
so he
yeah.
wouldn't have to worry about his fingers or his hands being damaged.
Oh yeah, I've done that too. I've got a in that closet right over there. I have a sandbag and a hitting board for iron conditioning.
Yeah.
Um, Man, my partner is better at that type of stuff. As a true crane, I have long fingers that tend to get jammed very easily. So I always just go with like I like open palm stuff.
Yeah.
That works for me.
No pokey fingers. And pokey fingers are really annoying
Yeah,
if you're on the
exactly.
receiving end.
That's why it's hard to get close to me. If you get close enough that I can't kick you anymore, there's pokey fingers
Oh
and
yeah,
elbows.
yeah. Like, I know, like my buddy that does, Wing Chun, like, they do a lot of finger striking in that as
Oh
well.
yeah.
Not a fan.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough. It's not my favorite, especially yeah, with the Wing Chun with the wooden man and you're doing like finger stuff on the wooden man. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
ow.
I mean, like they get to a certain point and then you can just like their fingers are like knives. They just put them in you.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So does your career path kind of intertwine with your D&D games?
110%. Yes. Because first off, like acting, like for me, it's all about the character and it's all about the character reacting to the world and to the other characters and creating relationships. And then if I'm playing a martial class, it's all about okay, how would I actually do these moves? And if I did this and I have a second attack, how would I attack on that second one? So if I'm playing a martial class, I am describing what I'm doing. And the bad thing about not playing with a camera with my group is like they're not seeing that I'm actually doing it.
Yeah.
They just have to hear me describe it. Um, but and I say every actor should play a short adventure, not a one shot, because you're not going to get to what you need as an actor with a one shot because you're figuring out how the game works. A
Yeah.
short adventure, because the improv elements and the elements of just living in a character and responding to what's given to you and not worrying about doing it right, which is, I would say, the number one. Because I play with a lot of actors and I've played with a lot of actors that I was the first person they played with. And a lot of them are so worried early on about doing it right that it really trips them up. And then once they realize that that's not the point, it opens them up. And then they start to realize that doing it right is also not the point when you're actually performing. It's about being in the moment and being authentic and actually just responding to what's happening. So I think every actor should play at least one short adventure.
I agree, but I also just think everybody should play D&D, so or some RPG.
Yeah, it's good for you. It really is. I agree with you. It just specifically actors for a different reason. Like everyone should just to be better people, um, but actors for more of a training thing. I actually have a class. I have a class that I teach. It is my favorite class that I teach. That is about mass battles and creating a random mass battle that is based on a D20 system. So everyone gets D20s and they're split up into groups, and you have a certain amount of moves you have to do, and you roll your D20, and whatever that is on the sheet on the system, that is what happens on that move. And so there's multiple groups doing this, and we create a mass battle that way.
Yeah, I would love
It's
to see
super
you
fun.
do a TikTok with a bunch of other TikTokers and like recreate that.
Hmm. Okay. Could figure out how to do that. That'd be fun.
I don't know why it just jumped into my head. Also, it probably sorts out your class, like you find out, figure out who the gamers are and who aren't.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, it also, your weapons are randomized. Whenever I've taught this class, there's been two possible weapons. One of those weapons could be dual, like either sword and shield, or just a sword or just a shield.
Yeah.
And one of them, so you have like three options of what you get, and that's randomized first. Like roll a d4 to figure out what weapon you get, and then you start working with the actual moves.
So, so how many weapons are kind of like in your repertoire for fight choreography?
Well, there are 8 weapons that you can certify with the Society of American Fight Directors, all of which I'm certified in. And then there are uh, 3 weapons that are not done through the Society of American Fight Directors that I certified with Stage Combat Deutschland through out of Germany. So the ones that on paper I am certified for is 11, but then there's other things that I know how to use that I have used because like found weapons are a thing, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then like we don't specifically, like within the Society of American Fight Directors, we don't specifically do spear, but staff and spear. I mean, a spear is a staff with a blade
At
on
the
the end of
end.
it, you
Yeah.
know. So a lot. And then of course there's, the weapons that I have done in kung fu. So a good handful of them.
The so my partner Ted, he does Arma as like a historical fight training, and he's just recently
Yeah.
got back into it. So I usually try and find death matches for him when I have people on.
Nice.
I mean, I feel like it's the only friendly thing to do. I mean, I also do
Absolutely.
that with my buddy who teaches kung fu, but I'm usually pretty sure he's gonna win. Like he's really good. I've been doing it for like 20 plus years,
Yeah, yeah.
and like even like his I know his instructor, his Sifu, and like his Sifu always says like, don't tell me how long you've been training, tell me how much you train, and
Hmm.
which is a huge difference. I'm like, my buddy has always trained nothing but private lessons for most of the
Wow, yeah,
time.
that's really good.
Yeah, and then he's been teaching probably for the past like 15 plus years. So
I would offer up Patrick Kelly, who I mentioned earlier. Patrick is scary when he wants to be. And he also, all he does is train 20
yeah.
plus years. They're probably pretty evenly matched.
Well, the so the weird thing is like I asked my buddy, well, I'm like, well, how close are you to food now? He's like, it's not even close. So
Patrick would say the same thing because it's like because people who are really good are humble about it.
yeah, yeah. Uh, my favorite martial arts thing came from a rat. So
I have a thought of the rat.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know what Mutant Ninja Turtle thing it was, but I think I'm paraphrasing, but Splinter, when Splinter tell them, you every I've taught you everything you know, but you don't know every something like I taught you everything you know, but you don't know everything that I know, or something like that. It's not right,
Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh God, what is the quote?
but it's a
I
really
know the
good
quote.
one, and now I'm annoyed with myself for forgetting it.
Yeah, it's basically like, yeah. Of course,
I have not
you
taught you
couldn't.
all I know. Everything
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's something like you know everything you know I taught you, and I have not taught you everything I know. So
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Splinter,
yeah,
a wise
Splinter's
rat,
so wise.
very the wisest of the rats. And rats are, actually pretty damn smart.
I've had a few pet rats
Have
over the
you?
years, and they are good. The last one I had used to like hang out with me when I worked. 'Cause I would work at the dining room table on my laptop, and the cage was like right there. And she would like throw the food she didn't like at my keyboard and at me when she wanted my attention. My family claims it died of diabetes, and I killed it because I had
Oh,
been known to like share with it. It lived like 3 years, and that's like their lifespan.
yeah. That's a good
Yeah,
rat life.
they're like, you gave the rat a whole Girl Scout cookie. I'm like, she really likes them.
She was happy.
She was very happy. No, the weirdest thing though is like right before she passed away, like we found her outside of her cage on top of the cage, and we're like, what are you doing? And we realized like something was wrong. She was like sick or something.
Hmm.
And then I watched her like push it up and then climb out again. Like I'm like, you could have left anytime you wanted. It's like you're good here.
You were just good there.
Yeah, but like yeah, she ended up passing away, and she just wanted someone to hang out with, in the end. And my wife like sat with her,
Oh,
until like
that's
she
so
passed or
cute.
whatever. Yeah,
Ugh, animals are great.
yeah, animals are great, especially after you meet people. Then you realize how much better animals.
Uh-huh. So animals can be assholes too. So I never had a pet rat, but I had a pet chinchilla, and also very smart. And this little butt would get our our dog in trouble when he was a puppy.
Uh-huh.
This was the one before the dumb one. This was the smart one. Because the chinchilla knew that if the dog started like focusing on its cage, that the dog would get in trouble. Um, and so he would zoom around his cage like crazy, just trying to get the dog's attention.
Yeah,
And then once the dog got in trouble, it had the second shelf of its cage was where it would go if it wanted belly scritches. So it would go up onto that shelf and put its paws up on the cage, like being like, "Give me belly rubs." So it zoom, 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 zoom. Dog got in trouble. Stop zooming. Go up. Give me scritches. I'm just like, you're such a little butt.
that we have two chinchillas, and yes, they are a holes. Like there used to be ramps in the cage, and like when one of them would be on the ramp, inevitably the other one would be on the other end of the ramp trying to flip them off by flipping the ramp because they got those little hands. And
Oh man.
now they have nothing in their cage because if it's not made of metal,
They'll chew it to bits.
they chew it to bits. Over the holidays, someone had sat a chair next to their cage, and we didn't realize it. And the next day we come back, it looks like someone had like an ear of corn along the back of it.
Yep, anything near the cage is just no, 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 no.
Um, what is your favorite weapon?
That is such a hard choice. But oh, it's such a hard choice. But I think staff, just because I really like. uh doing flow with it.
Uh,
And there's just it's so versatile. There's so much you can do. It's very simple. It's kind of I feel I feel kind of bad saying it as like all my beautiful custom swords are like just outside in the other room being like, "What? The stick? Really? No." But staff is super fun. I also really, 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 for a similar reason, except you also get a little extra weight to it, is I really, really, really love poleaxe. Poleaxe is super fun. You expect it to be like this slow, big, clunky thing, and
yeah.
it's just not. It's fast and it's fun.
Well, I think staff and eskrima sticks are kind of fun to watch. Anyway, I mean, I remember taking Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and like we were doing like a club defense in part of it, and then like the instructor like started spinning it and stuff. He's like, and if you see anyone doing this, just run. Don't bother with the club defense.
Yeah, because it's like, it, yeah, it's just fun. And not to mention, Donatello is my favorite turtle. So it makes sense that staff would be my favorite. And yeah, you start getting that thing going, and it's like, yeah, it's just flourish, but still try to get closer. There's
Yeah.
always a stick.
Are you watching or have you watched Wheel of Time?
Yes, I'm not I'm like, where am I at? Like 4 episodes in, 5 episodes in.
I had read
I'm
like
not
9 or 10 of the books and then bailed. I never finished the series. And I'm kind of enjoying the show, but I do remember in the books there was like some good like staff scenes in there and them talking about staves. And I'm hoping that in this series at some point we get those.
Let me get that. I don't know. I'm I haven't people have told me to read the books for decades, and I can't even answer you why I haven't read them because
I don't
it's the type of thing
recommend.
I would. Okay.
Like it's not that they're like I don't know like so I couldn't go back and read them now. Like Robert Jordan's writing style is so like slow and pondering. And then like I said, I read like 9 or 10 of the books and then bowed. I just and
Yeah.
it's like I might have bowed in the middle of a book. I kind of got bored.
Yeah, I feel I'm not super invested in the show. I feel utterly confused about the politics of the world
Yeah,
and the factions. Like, they don't make sense to me. The white coats especially just confuse the shit out of me. I'm like, what authority do you have? Where do you come from? What is your deal? I don't who the who are you? Like,
yeah.
anyway. So it hasn't grabbed me.
Why haven't the eyesight obliterated you guys yet?
Right? Like,
Yeah, I think they're
exactly.
handicapped though because I don't think they're allowed to use the one power against people.
Okay. I still don't I still don't understand where their authority comes from because it feels like
Mm.
some sort of like inquisition thing, right? So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
has a power behind it, an authority behind it to do those things. And it just feels like, so you just have authority because you say so?
Isn't that how
Screw
anything
you.
really works though? Like they have a Vatican someplace in their world where it's coming from, I guess.
I guess. But I want to know that there's a Vatican and they're not
Yeah.
just out on their own being jerks.
Yeah, I guess and I mean because as much detail as they go into in that world and in the books, I don't know if that's ever like it's just like implied, right? You just know that they got a lot of power. They hate the one power and they like to murder people. So they
Yeah,
call
see,
it
that's
great.
not enough. That's just not enough for me.
Yeah. We'll see if they
Like,
get more into it
yeah.
in the show.
Yeah,
Um,
well, we'll see. We'll see if they hold my interest long enough to get there.
so Brian has a great question. What fantasy beast would make a good kung fu style? Manicore style, gelatinous cube style?
Well, now I want gelatinous cube style.
I
Like,
agree. How do you beat that?
damn. Yeah, or mimic.
Yeah.
Mimic. That'd be fun because like you could just like kind of mirror what someone else is doing and then have like a lot of grapples. I say mimic. I think you could have a lot of fun with mimic.
Yeah. Also I'm surprised that there isn't more like there should be some monk traditions based off of more D&D monsters.
Yeah.
I mean, most of
Yeah,
kung fu is
that'd be
just based off of animals anyway.
animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something they have not delved into with Monk like at all. So that would be really fun.
The closest we got is probably the way of the dragon ancestry or whatever it's called. And but even that is like has little to do with the martial arts per se. It's more about like growing wings and breathing fire. So
Right, not about like how do you fight like a dragon.
yeah. You know, we need to hear Bruce Lee be like, Dragon Whip's Tao.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. That actually is a thing.
It is a thing.
that that is an actual move. Uh yeah, we definitely need some like animal style D&D monsters like, Cobalt style, Knoll style, Tabaxi style. Yeah, this should happen. Come on, Wizards of the Coast, or just someone homebrew this.
I think you I think you're the most qualified one in this room to do it.
But homebrewing is daunting to me. When I homebrew stuff, it's like I take stuff and augment them. Um, like I am working on homebrewing a monster right now. Um, that I don't want my players to know. If you're in the All-Star campaign, please stop listening for a second because I don't want you to know. So I'm in New Mexico, right? I grew up here. I grew up the only white kid on the block. So I grew up with all the traditional folklore of New Mexico, and a lot of that is Mexican. So I grew up fascinated and terrified, legitimately terrified of La Llorona. So I am making La Llorona as like a big boss for a campaign that we're co-running. For my leg, I'm doing an adventure where like all the kids have been disappearing and they have to go save the kids from La Llorona, and so I'm working on statting her out. Definitely taking some like banshee elements
Uh-huh.
and mixing it with some other stuff, and I'm working on what to mix together, but definitely banshee
Is that
because
like the crying ghost or something?
the weeping woman, yes,
Yeah.
the if you hear her crying, she's gonna come take you away. Really, it's like it was really meant to like keep kids away from like the arroyos and the ditches
Uh-huh.
so you don't drown. But yeah, her story is that her husband was cheating on her and she was so upset that she drowned her kids in the arroyo and then realized what she did, started crying and running after them and fell into the ditch as well and drowned. And now she wanders the waterways looking for her children. So if you're there and she finds you, she'll take you.
We have homebrewed one monk tradition that's based off of D&D monsters
What's
and
that?
and hair. So Wave the Gorgon is our monk tradition. But
Ooh,
so like
yeah.
generally on April we do our like April Fool's patron rewards drop, which is started with beardomancy, and then we started working like through all as a wizard tradition. Then we started working through all the different classes, and there's the beard dimension and monsters and magic items, and it's a joke that's gone way too far, probably.
Has it though? Has it gone too far? Or
So
has it not gone far enough?
so I used to dye my beard, but we didn't always launch our videos in the order that we shot them. So like might be an old video where I have a goatee instead of a beard, or it might be red or brown instead of white or gray, and so people would be like, "What is going on?" And I believe my brother coined the phrase beardomancy. So ever since then, that was the response.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them with you with a red beard, and it's like, whoa, that's different.
Yeah, yeah. Well, red tends to go white instead of gray,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
and I kind of
I mean, you
grayed
could also
early.
just, yeah, yeah. I don't really know. I have been dyeing my hair since eighth grade because I hate my natural color. I do notice like on my undercut that there's like, oh, there's a lot of gray in there now.
It happens. Although it could be worse. My my son, when he, I guess like 17, 18, he ended up with this like ball, this gray patch. And now it's just like spread, like he's only 21 and it's spread throughout all of his hair. So he's like
Oh,
salt and pepper at 21.
Gray Fox. You could just own it. Or
Born gray fox.
two options: Gray Fox, or use the fact that your hair is a color that will accept any crazy bright punky color you want and just go nuts.
Oh yeah, yeah. There you go.
Two good options.
Two good options. I think it bothered him for a while, but now he's over it.
Now he's like, ah, that's my thing.
Could be worse. I'm like, hey, some people go bald at 18.
Yeah, my partner started thinning at 18, so yeah. Now he
Yeah,
just shaves
yeah.
his head.
Mine's getting there, and my brothers, like, it hit them even sooner. Like eventually, I'll just do the honorable thing and pick it.
The honorable thing, yes. Don't want to be dishonorable or anything.
Yeah, yeah. Well, after a while, it just feels like you're pretending to have hair.
Yeah, and that's never it's never a good look.
Yeah.
When it's the comb over thing, you don't want to, once you start thinking maybe that's a good idea, it's time to just let it go.
for for a long time, my brother, my middle brother had the pom pom in the front, and then no hair, and then hair. It's like,
Oh,
look, man, you just need to nip that thing off or grow it super long, one or the other.
right, right. You gotta make a choice, but this is not doing you any favors.
Yeah. So, what kind of voice acting work would you like to get into? Do you have anything specific, or
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I started getting into it a year ago, and the first thing I did was take a bunch of classes on different medium. I'm always a proponent for always training and doing it in a bunch of different styles to see what I was good at and what I enjoyed. Kind of hoping I'd be good at and enjoy things like commercial or like industrials, because those are lucrative and easier to get into, and quickly realized that I'm okay at commercial and I enjoy doing it, but I'm best at animation and video game stuff. And that's not me saying that. That is two separate teachers saying that that I worked with in multiple genres. So, and I get called back for those more. The one gig I've got so far was for an indie video game for their demo, trying to get funding. So if they get funding, I'll have work in that game. So definitely games and animation is definitely where I enjoy myself the most and where I shine the most.
so what would be like a dream project or gig to work on?
Um, well, I just binged Arcane this weekend. Holy crap. Everything about that is brilliant.
It was pretty good.
Like, oh God, I loved it so much. Um, so damn, if I could get on that, that'd be amazing. And of course, I'm a huge Critical Role fan, so Legend of Vox Machina would be fucking amazing. But I mean, I'm not at the level where I'm going to be casting anything big like either of those things at this point. But yeah, dream jobs, those would be great. Or a BioWare game. My favorite games are BioWare games, and I love their characterization and their voice acting. I would love to do a BioWare game, but yeah, I'm just starting off. I'll get there eventually.
In the before times, were you into conventions at all?
Not really. I, they're very crowded. I want to
This
like
is
them
true.
more. Yeah, I want to like them more, but they're hard on me. Just the level of crowd. Uh, and I always, it's like I always intend to go to more, but also it's like every time one pops up that I want to go to, it's either sold out instantaneously or I am broke and they are expensive.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm against cons. It's just that I spent all my money on stage combat stuff, not on cons.
No, I totally get. I mean, it wasn't until after doing Nerdarchy for several years that I started going to cons at all. And Ted had gone to more, but he had gone to more like smaller cons, local cons.
Mhm.
Like he used to do this steampunk World Fair every year, where his anniversary used to be a thing, and that would have been like his biggest convention. And then like the 1 year, like I started with Origins, then Gen Con, then PAX Unplugged, and then we both went to PAX Unplugged together. And it was interesting because he's like, "Oh wow, this is so big," but at that point, that was the smallest convention I had been to, and I was like, "I don't know, I'm kind of disappointed. Like it's PAX. Like I know they haven't been to Philly before, but they've done like a million of these things. Seems a bit
Yeah, yeah.
conservative. I think they could have blew it up a bit bigger."
And he's like, "Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah,
huge."
yeah. And it's built up quite a bit since then, but yeah, I don't know. It's fun. It's a great way to meet your internet friends and also
Yeah.
networking.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm so bad at networking.
Yeah.
But
Well, I don't.
it's something that once it feels safe to do that again, the
Yeah.
fact people I have friends going like went to C2E2 this year and I'm like, "Are you crazy? No."
Well,
That's
I I went to Gen Con and everyone was masked up and did pretty well. And at that point, we had like I had got my vax and we were boosted, so I wasn't
yeah.
originally going to go, and then I was just like the stir crazy kicked in and like I'm like I don't care, I'm going. If I die, I die. Um, but the masking was good and people were pretty respectful. The only thing that was bad was like they had like reduced capacity, like they like
Yeah.
shrunk the space down, and I'm like, why would you like this
Then
makes
that
no
doesn't do
sense.
anything.
Doesn't do
Yeah.
anything, right? But when we went to PAX Unplugged, they did the opposite, reduced capacity, but they kept the same space, and it was amazing. Like you
Yeah.
weren't even bumping into people when you were walking down the aisles. The aisles are nice and wide. Booths were spaced out. They
Mm.
might do only like two or three booths, together, and then a space. So that
So
was really nice.
basically what you're saying now is the time to go to a con if you don't like the giant crowds. If it's
It
the
really
right
just
con.
depends on the con whether or not
Yeah.
whether or not they've kind of like figured it out. Like I don't know if Gen Con just was like thinking like they wanted to give the perception as business as usual or what. But I was like,
Or
these
was it
people
the
are great.
venue that was like, "Oh, well, if you're going to have less people, we can't give you the space?"
But they had like literally they had the space because the perimeter and sections of it were just sectioned off with like the cloth barriers. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like, and they were using it for like meeting rooms and stuff
That's so
for the
weird.
con, right? Like companies
Yeah,
could
that's
rent
so
a
weird.
separate space. So it's just like they could have still done that and spaced it out and still had plenty of room.
Yeah, and it's like if you're going to have reduced capacity, isn't that kind of the point to like
Yeah, show
have
that we're
people more
doing
spread
things
out?
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
Who
mean, I
knows?
guess the other place where the reduced capacity does work out for even Gen Con is the fact that like still like when you're outside you're not on the floor and you have the different meeting rooms and stuff like that, that still kind of spreads it out a little bit.
That's true. That's
But
true.
they could have did a smidge better. They could have did a smidge better. So
Yeah, yeah.
we'll see. We'll
And
see
who
going
knows?
forward. And also like seeing the contrast between how two different conventions did it.
And how, yeah, how they handled it. I
Yeah.
mean, just from an outsider's perspective of watching like friends posting from different cons, like between like Dragon Con and C2E2, it was like Chicago versus Georgia, big difference.
Yeah. Well, also too, like at Unplugged, you had to get one of these, and you had to show your
Hmm.
vaccination status, and at Gen Con it was more of a free for all. So
Yeah, definitely when it's like, oh no, you have to show your vaccination status, that makes me more comfortable.
so
But it's so weird with it's just this crazy roller coaster, right? Of like,
yeah.
okay, I'm vaxxed, things are better. Yeah, yeah, I can do stuff. And then Delta. And I was like, okay, 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 I got boosted. I'm good. I'm good. Omicron. Okay, I'll just never leave my house. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I think the new one there's a version that's a mix of Deltacron and Omicron is coming next.
Yeah, there's that one. There's also the flu Rona, where the
Yeah,
flu and Corona got together and created a variant. I'm like,
a
oh yeah,
baby.
we're doing great. Yeah,
So,
they had a nice little baby. So great. We're doing so good.
yeah.
Oh,
But I will say like after any of the events, I don't think I saw any spikes like or anything. So I don't know.
there was after the New York anime. That's where the first
Yeah,
Omicron in the country came from that we knew.
curse you, anime. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, we were just past the hour mark on that glum note. Um, Final thoughts before we head on out.
Thanks so much for having me. Like, when I I've been watching your channel for years. I tell people when they want information on D&D, you're one of the go-tos I go to. So when I saw you followed me, I was like, "Ooh, yay." And then when you're like, "Hey, do you want to do a live chat?" I'm like, "Ooh, yay." So, thank you so much for having me. This was super fun.
Well, thanks for coming on and thanks for hanging out with us in Ted's basement. We really do appreciate it. Folks, as always, down in the descriptions, you can find links to follow Dueling Doll. Check them out over on TikTok. You put out great content there. It's a lot of fun. And also, you can still get in on the Mage Forge, which just funded today. And until next time, stay nerdy.